Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another short little unboxing video to share with you guys. This is absolutely a knife that you guys have probably seen before. It's actually a specific version of a knife that I have been hunting. I purchased this knife out of my own pocket for myself. I was really excited to finally see this variant available at a dealer, so I grabbed it. I jumped on it immediately. And I'm going to be honest with you, I've already opened the box, which is not normal for these unboxing videos, but it does happen sometimes. It came in on a Saturday, and what am I going to say? I'm a knife guy. Like, I'm not just going to let it sit here till Monday, right? But I opened it and was really impressed with most of it. I'll talk about it here in a second. Thanks so much to my patrons for supporting me, and please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. I'm going to tell you right now, this is a model that I highly recommend. So I will link it right down below, but I want to show you guys, what what's going on with this particular one. This is a Guardian Tactical. Box says 100% made in the USA with 100% USA materials. But I mean, I don't know that can be 100% true, because LMAX, which I believe is the blade steel, is not actually made in the United States. So I don't know. They should be careful about putting that on the outside of the box, right? But to my knowledge, Guardian Tactical knives are largely made in the United States. This is a Recon 35, and I bought this with the intention of it being a user. I have, in the past, purchased a Recon 35 that I ended up selling, and I shouldn't have done that. It was really cool. I did decide that I wanted the drop point version. If you don't know, the reason that the Guardian Tactical Recon 35 is the most recommendable EDC OTF on my channel is because of the size and everything like that, on outside of the USA manufacturing, but the size and everything like that is really great. But mainly it's because the switch is the easiest to use of any OTF I've ever experienced. It's got that steel plate and the ball bearings underneath, which make it unbelievably easy to deploy without feeling like there's a risk of it going off in your pocket. This has the carbon fiber inlays, which is the one that I was looking for. Carbon fiber inlays, drop point, stonewashed blade, right? These are a little bit more expensive. I think the base price on the Recon 35 is something like $285 or $275 or something like that. Still very, very recommendable, right? Definitely, if you're going for a USA OTF, this is probably the best thing on the market. This guy was something like $350 for the carbon fiber inlays. I wish that they had gone all the way down, but no big deal, right? I didn't realize that one side was kind of halfway. Inlays look great. Quality of the carbon fiber to me looks great, right? Overall fit and finish, everything is awesome except for one area. Let's zoom up here. Oh, God bless it. What happened here? What happened at the edge? All right. And I know a lot of you, especially this size, or this side, I know a lot of you are saying, what does it matter, Complex, if you're going to use that one? Are you really going to use it? Yeah. I've got a lot of... The common consensus is that I own 120 knives and I don't use any of them, which is a fair conclusion to come to if you're not familiar with me or my channel. The truth is there are a lot of knives in my collection that I do not use, but there are a lot of knives in my collection that I do use. And I do not shy away from using things just because they are expensive. I'm just selective on which models I want to use. This is exactly, the version of this knife that I wanted to purchase as a user. Over time, as I continue to use this and sharpen it, that goof up at the edge will get corrected. But God, come on. I got a Recon 40 that I use periodically, and it's fine. It's got a little bit of a weird spot at the end with the coating, and it's a little bit, I don't know how to describe this, flaky, right, where it turns into the final edge bevel, and the edge bevel also gets wider as we come out to the edge. Not really that big of a deal. I think this is a fairly common thing that you can expect with these Recon 35 knives. I don't think the edge bevel is going to be perfect, and truthfully, this is something that we have seen in lots of USA production knives. Like, I mean, it doesn't matter if we're talking about Spyderco, Benchmade, whoever. Even periodically, I think Microtech does the best job, but even Microtech periodically will not have a perfect edge bevel. Now this one's been used a little bit, but you can see here, It's thin, and then it gets wide out here. Not really that big of a deal, but gosh, this little area out at the end is ugly. Like, it's like they were continuing, and they were like, oh, whoops, and then change the angle. Oh, just redo it. Just redo it. Ugh, that's ugly. I don't like to see this on a knife that is this expensive. And it is a bummer. I'm not going to return it for something like that. Because, again, I plan to use it. But still, that doesn't mean that, you know, when we're buying this stuff that it shouldn't be. I'm not saying everything has to be absolutely laser perfect. Because that's kind of unrealistic, right? But that is not a goof up that we like to see, right? That's not something that should be just like, oh, well, that's just, you got to expect that. No, I think generally speaking, it doesn't matter if we're talking about a budget knife, because listen, even the least expensive knives, and I understand they're made in China, and right, that this Chinese manufacturing is really like, holy crap, how are they even doing this, right? But the cheapest knives, $30 to $40 knives, have perfect edge bevels, right? I think it is. I think what should be expected when we are buying something, whether it is $50, $300, especially $1,000, right? It should have an even edge bevel, right? I mean, if there's a slight variation, I'm not gonna freak out too much. But this is quite the difference from here to out here. This was kind of annoying on the 40. This right here, that's gross. You know, gosh darn it, that just really looks stupid. I do love the knife, though. I am going to keep it and use it and just slowly correct it over time, because these really are excellent EDC knives. I find that OTF knives in general, despite what people think, are actually safer and more convenient for EDC because it takes, you know, a decent amount of deliberate force to deploy the blade, but it is so simple in terms of deployment and retraction. It's just the fewest steps from removing removing the object from your pocket, using it, then pulling it back and putting it away. I prefer the Recon 35 to the Ultratech, if you're wondering. I've talked about this many times. The Recon 40 is cool, but it's just gigantic. I prefer the Recon 35 to the Ultratech, number one, because it's easier to deploy. Number two, it has almost exactly the same amount of cutting edge, right? The handle on the Microtech Ultratech is a little bit longer, but it is less comfortable because of the pocket clip, right? It's also less comfortable because it is more narrow. That's something that some people prefer. This thing just fills my hand a little bit better. And also, this guy, the edge geometry is, I think, better. Like, if we're comparing apples to apples here. This guy is thinner behind the edge and just feels a little bit better in the cutting performance department. Of course, you know, that can change here or there over time, depending on how you sharpen it and how often you have to sharpen it. LMAX versus 20CV. I prefer LMAX, just if we're going like the geometry of this blade, and this is, I believe, 20CV or 204P, which is the same composition. But for this guy here, LMAX for this blade, I prefer it a little bit more. But, you know, my experience is pretty limited. This is just like the ultimate EDC OTF. And I had to choke down an uneven bevel, you know, because you can see it's kind of doing the same thing. It's a little thinner out here, it gets a little wider. If they could just bring this up and make it even and not have had to change angles, you know. I really wanted to win with that. I feel like I'm pretty lucky with my acquisitions, right? When I get a new knife, most of the time, the vast majority of the time, everything it's like 99.9% perfect. And I hear other people going, you got a good one, you know, mine wasn't that. I feel like I've been pretty lucky. So I suppose I'm just overdue for a couple of goofballs in my collection, but you know, there you go. I still recommend this, but just let it be known the two that I own have kind of wonky edge bevels, right? So I'll link them down below. I think the Recon 35 is widely available. The first one, I should be noted, the very first Recon 35 that I owned had perfect edge bevels, and it was a dagger blade. Which is, it's so funny. The first one I owned had two edges, and everything had to be symmetrical for it to look good. And it did. Everything, I think maybe there was a slight goof up at the very tip, but other than that, it was basically perfect. So you might get a good one or you might not, right? It depends on how particular you are. In my opinion, at this price point, it should be pretty darn close to perfect. Yeah, I just wanted to share this with you guys. I've already reviewed the Recon 35, so this is really just me saying, hey, look at this new knife that I bought. There you go. I'm still happy to own it. It'll be you know, might make it a little bit easier to use, ironically, since it's less than perfect. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.